Donald Trump just did the unthinkable. His deal with Intel is going to profoundly change the entire course of the US economy. At first glance, it seems like a great deal for the American people. Finally, the American people are getting something for their money because the government has received a 10% stake in Intel since Biden has awarded Intel about $8 billion through CHIPS and Science Act. It might seem like Donald Trump has assigned a good deal with Intel because for decades, the American government has helped many corporations with tax breaks, loans, and grants, and now the American government is getting something in return. However, if you dig into this deal, it is actually a disaster for the US economy. And if you think that I'm exaggerating, let me explain. That deal also gives an option to the US government. The US government will be able to buy another 5% stake in the company at $20 per share. And the rationale behind this deal is that Intel is the only company in America that both designs and manufactures chips. So it's a strategic interest of the United States to make sure that the US government has a grip over this company. However, it is going to lead to a disaster. Whenever the government buys a company or has a stake in a business, that business is going to become inefficient because there is a conflict of interest. If Intel, for example, wants to become more efficient, it might need to fire people. But firing people politically unpopular. So that will lead the company to be inefficient every single time whenever any government across the globe buys any corporation. Secondly, it makes or creates unfair competition. In a free market, whoever builds the product at the best possible price with the best possible technology should actually win the market. But in this case, when government owns or has a stake in a particular company, then that company will be treated differently. The government might provide it with grants. The government might provide it with government-backed loans. The government might provide it with some kind of help because the government has a stake in that business, which is going to create unfair competition. It will also prevent innovation in the long run. 20 years ago, Intel was the largest and the most successful chip manufacturing company in the world. Today, it is overtaken by NVIDIA and AMD. Why? Because the free market decided that AMD or NVIDIA's chips and AMD's chips are far better than Intel. And that's why Intel is going down and NVIDIA is the most valuable company in the world. Over the last 40 years, China has made a huge progress. China has created some of the most valuable and most successful companies in the world. Have you heard of BYD? Yes. But have you heard of that company 20 years ago? No. Have you heard of Huawei? Yes. That company was nothing 25 years ago. Most of the successful Chinese corporations are heavily being backed by the Chinese government, which is why they are so successful. But that works only in the short run. In the long run, all of these corporations turn into a disaster because the government starts backing a certain company because it has a stake in that company or because there are different reasons why you want that company to be successful. In the short run, it is going to quickly expand and take market share because there is money being thrown into that business. However, in the long run, it will simply turn into one giant inefficient business that if you pull out the plug, which is the government money, this company is going to disappear. This company will find out that they have been misusing that money. They have not been as efficient as possible because they don't have to be accountable. If it's a privately owned business, the CEO of that business and the management of that company are accountable to the owners of the business or the shareholders, which is why they're trying to maximize their efficiency and be as profitable as possible. But if it's a state-owned or state-backed corporation, they don't have that problem, which is why if you stop sponsoring them, if you stop funding them, they will find out that they cannot compete in the free market. Let me give you an example. China spent $300 billion on Evergrande. Evergrande was the largest real estate company in the world because it received $300 billion from the Chinese company or the Chinese government. In the short run, it quickly expanded and became the second world's largest developer in China and the most successful real estate company in the world. However, In 2021, when we realized that most of that money was inefficient, and if the government funding will stop to Evergrande, the Evergrande will have to default on their loans. So in 2021, the company files for bankruptcy. When you have unlimited money that is coming from the government, you can expand very quickly. But the moment that money stops flowing into you, what is going to happen to the company? And you might think that this is just one case. But if you look at every single case when the government or any government, not just the United States or China, has backed and owned a certain corporation, that corporation have become very inefficient. Take an example of Tesla and BYD. Now, Tesla is the most successful EV company in the world. But if you look at their numbers, BYD has already exceeded Tesla. For example, in 2024, BYD has sold 4.3 million cars, which is far more than Tesla that has sold 1.8 million cars. And that's because BYD is heavily being backed by the Chinese government. Yes, Tesla is also backed by the US government to a certain extent, but the comparison is nowhere close. Without government money, BYD would not be what it's today. Tesla has benefited from the US government, but that's absolutely nothing compared to BYD. So BYD is supposed to be much more successful than Tesla. But if you look at the revenue, BYD made slightly more money than Tesla. Tesla made $97 billion, BYD $107 billion. So how is it possible that BYD sells 2.5 times more cars than Tesla, and yet their revenue is very similar, almost very similar? But if you look at net profit, things get way worse. Tesla made on $97 billion, $7 billion of net profit, while BYD made $5.6 billion, even though that BYD sold 2.5 times more cars. So Tesla is much more profitable because Tesla is accountable to its shareholders. Tesla must make sure that they're as efficient as possible and they're building or using the money and allocating the capital as efficiently as possible. BYD does not have that problem. BYD can simply continue selling their cars at a loss. But what happens when you pull out the plug? What happens when the government money dries up? What happens when the government stops supporting you? Suddenly you realize that your business is very inefficient, and if you want to continue being in business and do not file for bankruptcy, you have to raise your prices. Then you raise your prices, you suddenly realize that you cannot compete with Tesla, and you start going out of business. And that's why in the short run, government backing companies might actually have an edge, but in the long run, only private companies dominate any industry. Let me give you an example from the United States. So, in 1970, the US government decides that it's going to nationalize the postal service. What happened at the end of the day is that USPS simply became a giant corporation that is extremely inefficient. And last year, USPS has reported a loss of $9.4 billion. So this company is costing the government almost $10 billion. So the taxpayers are subsidizing USPS. Now the real question is that, why is that happening? Why can't they turn USPS into at least self-funded corporation? I'm not saying that USPS should be a profitable business. All I'm saying is that maybe USPS should not be making a profit, but at least it must break even. That is not happening for 3 reasons that we have discussed earlier. The business is inefficient due to conflict of interest. Firing people in USPS is extremely unpopular because it's politically unpopular. But maybe as a business, you must do that because it is costing you so much money, and that is not the best use of capital. And that's just one example, and it happens in every single part of the business. Secondly, unfair advantage, unfair competition. Who is going to compete with USPS? FedEx is competing with USPS to a certain extent, but there are services that FedEx cannot provide because FedEx is accountable to the shareholders, while USPS does not have to be profitable. There is unlimited money that is coming from the government. It also prevents innovation. USPS does not have to innovate at all. Again, why? Because they are leading the industry. And why is that happening? Because they have unlimited money that is coming from the government. If you privatize USPS, then USPS should try to become as profitable as possible in order not to go out of business. And that's why FedEx is profitable, USPS is not profitable. Some people might say, well, why is the US government helping the big corporations every single time when there is a crisis? And now when the government is taking something or owning something, that is a problem. Let me explain. There are two circumstances where the government should intervene in the economy. Number one is to save the economy when there is a huge crisis. Secondly, incentivize the economy to develop a certain industries. Whenever we have a financial crisis, whenever everything is crashing, it is normal for the government to intervene and save largest employers in the country. So in 2008, a lot of companies went bankrupt and the government spent $50 billion to help GM. On one side, it seems, why are we bailing out GM? It is a large corporation. It is the mistake of the management of that business. Let it go bankrupt. That is a good logic. But think from the perspective of the government. There are hundreds of thousands of people who work at GM. If GM is going to go bankrupt, hundreds of thousands of people are going to lose their jobs. Hundreds of thousands of people will not be spending money, and the financial situation is going to get worse. Yes, we have this problem. Yes, it's not the fault of the taxpayers. But saving GM means saving hundreds of thousands of jobs. The second reason why the government should intervene is to prevent bank failures. If you take the entire history of the United States and you take every single financial crisis, you will see a very clear pattern that in every single crisis, it happened because of bank failures. One bank fails, it leads to other banks to fail, like a domino effect, and then the entire economy falls into a great financial crisis. You see, whenever you deposit your money in a bank, you think that your money is still there in the bank. But if that was the reason, or if that's how the banks would work, then the banks wouldn't make money, which is why banks take your money and loan it to someone else. And that's what we call fractional reserve banking. They take your money at a lower interest rate and loan that money at a higher interest rate, and they pocket the difference. That is basically the business model of any bank. Now, what happens if one bank mismanages their money and now they're going out of business? You're going to go to the bank and you're going to ask for your $50,000 that you have deposited in that bank. The bank will tell you, listen, we're filing for bankruptcy because we failed. You're going to panic and you will go to Bank B where you have another $30,000 and you will withdraw it as soon as possible because now you have lost your trust in the banks. That news is going to spread across your neighborhood, then across the country. Everybody will rush to the banks withdrawing their money. Do the banks have all the money in the world that you deposited? No, because the business model of the banks is to borrow money and then lend that money. So even if we have good banks that manage their assets properly, that manage their businesses properly, will also go out of business simply because one bank has failed. So the government came out with a strategy that whenever there is a bank failure, we're going to intervene and save that bank before it turns into a catastrophe, no matter who is responsible. So when Silicon Valley Bank failed, the government intervenes and saves Silicon Valley Bank, even though that it's not the fault of the government. The First Republic Bank fails. The government intervenes. In 2008, the Bank of America failed. Citigroup failed. And other banks failed. And the government helped them because the government did not want the crisis to get much worse than that. The second reason why the government would intervene is by incentivizing the industry or to develop a certain industry. Let's say we want to make chips in the United States. The government can provide tax breaks. So if you build a manufacturing plant in the United States that manufactures chips, you don't have to pay taxes. Or the government can provide you with government-backed loans. Building a plant is very expensive, but you can borrow $1 billion and the government is going to back it. So if you would borrow that money, you might borrow it at 5% interest rate. But because it's being backed by the government, the banks would loan you that money at 2% interest rate because it's a guaranteed loan. So if building this project, if this project has an ROI of 7% and now you can borrow the money at 2% interest rate, now it makes economic sense because you're pocketing 5% in your pocket. So you will build that plant in the United States. Or sometimes it could be grants. So the government will provide the companies that will build certain things in the United States with cash rewards so that they will build them. Now, at first glance, it seems like it's very unfair for the government. Why would the government spend billions of dollars helping these corporations? Now, think long term. In the short run, it seems like a bad deal for the United States government. In the long run, when that company is going to build a manufacturing plant in the United States, it will start paying taxes. So that tax break could be for the first 5 years or the first 10 years. And then it will pay corporate taxes. Secondly, it is going to employ a lot of people. Let's say this plant will employ 20,000 people. Now, 20,000 people will be employed. They will pay income tax. They will pay payroll tax, which is going to increase the revenue of the government. Thirdly, these people are now employed. They're making money. So they will take that money and they will spend it. That will grow spending within the economy, which is going to drive GDP growth, which is going to make the US economy larger. And these are the two most important instruments how the government should intervene in the economy. But when the government does it the other way, by getting ownership in those businesses, it is going to destroy the entire fundamentals of the free market in the economy and is going to make the entire industry extremely inefficient. And Trump made it clear that he is open to similar deals like Intel.
The case of Intel was interesting, but I hope I'm going to have many more cases like it. There will be other cases. If I have that opportunity again, I would do that.
So if you want the government to help a certain company, be it in automotive industry, be it in the technology sector, the government is very happy to take a portion of those businesses. So it might seem like a great deal in the beginning.